Well, welcome to this Lenten journey that we're on. And let me just tell you a little bit about what we're doing. If I were to give this series a title, it would be, Can God Set a Table in the Wilderness? This is all about how are we being fed this Lent? How are we being fed during this COVID wilderness, this time that is changing a bit, but may not be changing as much as we want. And of course, we're all feeling the effects of 2 years of this. So we're interviewing two people at a little bit greater length. Last week, you may have watched an interview with Ashley Hart, who is struggling with the birth of a baby who's been in the hospital since birth. And today, going to talk to my colleague, Lisa Bernheisel. For those of you who don't know, she's been on the staff of St. Timothy's for, gosh, almost 4 years, I guess. But 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, all at the same time as COVID hit. And so she's just got a bundle of experiences of life in the wilderness. And you may have watched her interview a year ago. So really, we're going to be sort of getting up to date with her. But the real focus of this, Lisa, is to hear from you as you have been living it throughout not only the last 2 years, but in specific, the last year. What is it that's been sustaining you? What's been the table that's been set in the wilderness? What keeps you going? Because you've been at this chemo thing for quite some time now. And I may ask a few questions as we go along, but mostly we want to hear from you. So welcome.
Well, thank you. And thank you to all for tuning in and being part of this series as together we reflect and think about how God sustains us in times that end up to be longer than we anticipate. And so that's where I am. Last year, when you saw me, I was going through chemo, and I'm still going through chemo. I think I'm finishing up like my 44th round. I didn't even know it was possible that people could go through so much chemo. And so I probably should just stop counting at this point. But part of the what sustains me in the wilderness is that God is that guiding me through and helping me to know the terrain. And so getting to know what the wilderness feels like, and that I feel more comfortable there now, in that in between space of not knowing. We still don't know what's happening. I have amazing results from chemo that it's out of my colon and it's out of my liver, and it was speckled through my lungs. And so I went through a number of rounds, and they were unsuccessful, about 9 months. And then having to go on this aggressive chemo now, and then waiting to see, is it working or not? It feels like it is. I feel so much better in those times, but in the times that are really tough right after those chemo rounds, knowing that it's temporary and that there is an end to that reality, to know I will feel good again, that sustains me as I'm able to go through and look at it like a marathon instead of just a sprint. And finding that God is not inviting me to like prove myself or anything like that. It's just how to be gentle with myself and really tune in. And what I've been led to do is every morning having that quiet space, getting up, getting my cup of coffee, doing the meditation, lighting a candle, just taking it in, opening up my window and looking outside and seeing the darkness, and knowing that God is there too, in those intense, like sweet moments of like, it's almost pre-dawn, like that the sun is coming, but it's not yet there. And it feels to me that that's what the wilderness is. And then it feels like God's spirit is palpable, even in those quiet moments before anybody else wakes up. And so going into that prayer time, and then really surrendering to the spirit, saying, okay, God, like I have this much energy today. use me as an instrument of your healing, of your grace and love with whomever, however, and wherever you choose. And so it's this prayer of surrender that I do every day. And then in those moments, I'm able to live fully with God guiding. And so then when I feel like unsettled or unsteady, or if I go into fear, then taking a moment to pray and get centered again, knowing I am connected to the source, and that that's that God continues to call me back and feed me along the way, this manna from heaven through just those quiet moments. And then when the kids wake up, their exuberance and their love, oh my goodness, the gift of a smile or an unsolicited hug from your child, that's the best thing. Come over and give me a
Down,
hug.
down.
But when they just come over and give it out of like, oh, and like, oh, mom, you're alive today. And I am too. And what a gift it is.
Mm,
We really do. It sounds cliche, but we really do live fully in the moment and really celebrate every moment because we don't know how much we have. And that's the gift of this near death experience, is to be able to face it fully as it is and to get playful with it, and also um, every day to practice dying, and then realizing, "Oh, the sun came up for me again. It's a new day. The sun came up for you. It's not just for me, it's for all of us." And
mm,
isn't that beautiful? And as we're shifting into springtime, the gift of these, the restoration of Cincinnati, Ohio around us. It's a beautiful thing. Yes, it makes my son's allergies, and we have to go get the Zyrtec. But it's that beautiful thing to say, oh, here, and let's savor and let's enjoy that first cup of coffee in the morning, that first sip, all of it is just so life-giving. And so I do feel like now the gift from the wilderness time is living fully in my time,
mm.
not taking any moment for granted. I
Wow.
don't. And every moment I feel God is with me in. And it's really, it's such a treasured place to be, because I think that we are more supported and loved than we even know, can ask for, or imagine. That we
Mm,
are being cared for, that we are being loved by a love that is stronger than death, and that all those who have gone before us are here with us and cheering us on, and guiding us to the manna sometimes. Oh, giving that little nudge, that great cloud of witnesses that we stand with. And so I hear my grandmother saying, "Okay, that's enough work now. Lise, sit down with me, have a cup of coffee. When I get too tired, or just rest here," and being gentle with myself and tuning into my body and saying, "Okay, it is time to rest," because before we just push through, because that's our American culture. We have to prove ourselves or be driven, and that's not what's being asked in
mm,
the wilderness.
mm. So you've been fed by
Daily practice.
awarenesses that you otherwise would not have had.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Wow.
Mhm. Yeah. And just the gifts of community, like continuing to be present. You would think that people would get tired of praying for someone. Okay, we're done. Let's take her off the list. We need to get some new names. And that name is lifted up again and again. Oh, thank you, because I'm still going in again and again, and that little things will come in the mail. Like my husband calls it Lisa's fan mail. I'll get like a card one day, or a little flower, just sweet things that, like, oh, I am being remembered in the wilderness, and that I'm
Mm,
not alone.
mm.
Part of the wilderness makes you feel like an outsider to everybody else's reality, and that you're outside looking in on other people living. And so that reminds you that you're very much a part of it, and that the gifts, there are treasures hidden in the solitude.
Right.
You are alone. Yeah.
I've often found myself thinking that as I read your caring bridge, that really what every human being needs is a caring bridge. That
Thank
you
you.
know um, the things that people go through may not be as acute and as life-threatening, but everyone needs to be able to share what's really going on and have people that want to listen and then say, hang in there.
Exactly, with love and support. That's the beauty of Carrying Bridge. No one wants to be a jerk on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I decided to not do it through Facebook or an avenue like that. I just decided, like, let's just put this in the structure of it's all a gift, right?
Right. So have there been times in the last year where, I guess what I'm wondering is, obviously you've gone through various ups and downs. What have you learned about the times when you've been in a dark place?
Mhm. I've learned it doesn't last forever, and you need to ride the wave, and that even the dark places teach you something. As I got scan results that weren't favorable in November, and just then had to take time off work and being away from ministry and that in a parish setting, to having to let go of part of my identity in that way was very tough. But as I did that, embracing who I am as a child of God, and that we all have things to offer, even if we're not actively doing the things the way that we feel like we need to be doing. But to know that even in those dark moments where we feel like all is lost, that resurrection moments happen, and how much energy and sadness do we want to give to death, and trusting deeply those promises of eternal life and resurrection. It's like, okay, if the world would end tomorrow, if we had some nuclear attack, and if we knew that it was coming, I would just want to pour a glass of wine with some of my best friends and hang out and tell stories and remember, and that and not to be caught in the fear, and how much energy it's exhausting to be caught in the fear of whatever it is so long. And so we just know, okay, this will pass, and this is just the time in which it is. And knowing that really helped sustain me through it, that the darkness doesn't last forever. It's another and each chemo round is really like you're headed back into the darkness, and you just know to ride the intensity of the wave, and just to know, for me, it is a predictable reality, and to feel sick when I feel sick, and then to be really grateful when I don't feel sick. And to always know where the anti-nausea meds are so I can grab them quickly. So
Right.
yeah. And that I'm held like sweet, like that when I name the pain and how scared I am, to know that I'm not alone with it, then people come alongside me and can stay with me in that. Not everybody can, and that's okay. But those who are able to be with people in times of suffering, just knowing you have companions there, right? And that you're not alone. And just to hold your hand, just to rub your back. My mom comes over and she'll like rub my feet, and at times my feet were so painful I couldn't have her do that, and then there were other times where I couldn't even feel it because the neuropathy was so and
Wow.
just yeah. And she did that for her mom when she was dying, and so the ability to be Mary to someone and to receive the gift that Mary offers.
Wow. So what do you do with, I assume that there are periods you go through when you're angry with God and the universe. What do you do with that stuff?
That is so great. I get angry a lot. And Christy Vonderschmidt is amazing. She's a parishioner at St. Timothy, and she sent me this thing called the Damn It doll. And it's this stuffed doll, and we just whack it against the counter when I just have to get it out. And that is awesome. It just sits on our counter now. And so sometimes we'll see it moved. Oh, somebody's had an angry moment, and other times like the stuffing will be flying out. It's really funny. So we all know we can go to the damn it doll when needed. And it's a communal thing, right? And it's kind of like in the center hub of our house. I also walk a lot. And sometimes I have so much anger in me, I just have to walk it off. It's just got to get out. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That really helps. Like I have this one path that I walk when I'm angry. And then I have another path when I walk when I want to feel consoled. But if I want to feel angry, there's a path that leads up a hill in our town because I want to be I want to feel my body and I just want to, and to be able to get it released. I also play basketball with my kids and sometimes I'll throw it too hard and they'll know I'm angry, but just to release that or throw the frisbee.
Right.
Whoa, mom, that went farther than me. Oh yeah, it did. Because it wells up and it gets, and then again, if we don't get it out in constructive ways like that, I don't want to end up yelling at my husband or being mean to my kids. So
Right.
I don't want to end up embittered and angry about this reality because I could quickly go into a spiral of self-deprecation. And I mean, sometimes I do, but that doesn't last all that long because it just feels empty. There's just emptiness there. And so the life-giving vitality is to release it, have it complete so that I can move on to whatever is next.
Right.
Whatever's below that. Anger is also always that surface emotion, like tip of the iceberg. So what is really below that? Oh, you're really sad. You're really sad. Oh, okay. Or you're scared or whatever.
Right. Right. I would imagine that like most parents, even in the best of times, you have times when you think, boy, I'm not doing this parenting thing very well. And I guess I wonder what it's like to try to be a parent when you're, running on a lot less than you would normally have. Has that been a hard thing to do, or has it been something where you're more gentle on yourself and say, I just can't do this?
Right. Yes and yes. There are moments I can be gentle and just be like, well, this is all I can do for you today. And yet the needs are there. And so then I do get frustrated. And my kids have adjusted. They, and they can sense. And I think that their emotional intelligence has increased because of that. And their wells of compassion. And I got really mad at them yesterday because they weren't helping with laundry. And there was this really big mound. Oh, I let it go for a long time. We all let it go for a long time. No one wanted to do it. No one had any energy. I didn't have any energy. I was just so mad at them for not doing chores, and I blew up and yelled. And it didn't mean that they did it at that moment, but, that's, I mean, I'm human and I still blow up and I get mad. And yet we all take deep breaths and then come back together and like, all right, how are we going to solve this? Because is this mom's problem or is this all of our problem? Who wants clean underwear? So grab a basket. So let's do this together. And the hard part is at night, the nightly ritual, because I'm a morning person and I peak around 10 o'clock from 10 to 2 and then I'm like done. And so like in the evenings, that's been really hard. Chris has had to do the nighttime ritual, which has become a blessing for him to be able to be in that space with the kids. But I used to love and savor those conversations where we really did. We would read together, we would talk about our day, we would pray. And that nightly ritual, I grieve not being able to do that with them right now, and yet sustain that without me. But I'm kind of, again, that outsider looking in or hearing from downstairs when I'm crashed out on the couch if I'm not quite asleep yet, what is happening. So that, I mean, it is hard, but thank God for the gift of partnership and parenting. That's huge. It really is. Yeah.
What would you say has changed most about your relationship with God during this?
The depth, like just
Mm,
as the Israelites were wandering the wilderness, and we think about like the Jewish faith and how often they say, we remember. And like, I remember, God, that you cleared out my colon. Oh my gosh. I remember that you were there for my liver and that
mm,
surgery, that you sustained me when I was totally alone, when no one was able to go into those rooms with me, when I had to do chemo all by myself and no one could companion me on that, when I sat in the waiting room all by myself, waiting and wondering, when I was held like just by myself during the days and I just felt so alone. You were there, God, again and again. And it's that presence that, and it's that energy that I feel within me. And I feel like I'm tapped more into that now than I ever have been in the past because of those sustaining experiences that were so profound that God was there. I woke up one time in the chemo chair during my first round of this more intense stuff. I had fallen asleep and I woke up in a panic because it felt horrible. It just felt like a brick was on my chest and I couldn't breathe. It just felt like these toxic chemicals were going through my body,
mm,
like this panic attack feeling. And my nurse angels, again, they came over and they, got me a thing for my forehead to cool me down. And I just felt that God coming and caringly, compassionately being there for me every single time I cried out, I cannot do this. I'm going to die. Or, I can't,
mm,
I can't go on. God in some way sent someone or was just even just renewed in me to like give me a sense of inner peace that surpasses all understanding, that
mm, mm, mm,
that is, it's deeply profound and so
mm,
real. It's palpable.
mm, mm,
So I am so grateful for the gift of this journey, for what um, that sustaining relationship. Before I was like, oh yeah, God, and I'm like, no, God is present with me at every single moment of the day.
mm, mm,
And as I go to bed at night, into your hands I commend my spirit, however this plays out. Um,
mm. Wow.
mhm.
Well, one final thing before we wrap up. What do you do with your fear?
Mhm. Mhm. I have learned to feel it. I kind of shake it out. I feel it like in my body. Like sometimes it goes up and down my spine. It's a very physical thing for me. And like so I'll walk it out. I'll shake it out. I'll write about it. I'll I have turned toward it instead of running away from it, because I feel like we spend so much of our lives running away from what we fear. So as we turn toward it and get curious about it, then it helps me. It's kind of a mental thing because I'm like, okay, what do I really fear? Is it really this or is it this? And I actually need someone to help me listen with me. So I've asked for some companions to come alongside me to help me name my fear. And by naming that, then I become aware of it. And then I begin to see it everywhere and how it is all around. And as I see it then all around, it feels like something in me shifts. Oh, to me, for me to be accepting, this is what I fear, and the acceptance. And then there's a movement that shifts in me, that I think is given by the spirit, that it doesn't have as much power over me as I step into it and look at it for what it is, because it's
Mm,
not more powerful than God, right? But
mm,
yeah.
right.
So,
Wow. Well, one thing that you probably already know, but I just am reminded of this as you talk about your journey, is that a real gift to the congregation of St. Timothy's, and I'm sure to your broader community, is your willingness to be transparent about what's going on. And I don't think, at least at St. Timothy's, we'll know the impact of that um, for years. I think that people, most of us are afraid. Most of us don't really want to deal with death. don't want to deal with hard things happening. And so we just kind of shelve all that. And for you to be so open about it, I think allows people to at least play in your world, and maybe begin to see that, you can go into challenging places and come out the other side, and that you don't have to go there alone. And I just think that is, not everybody can share that, and that's not a judgment on everybody, but I think that's really been a gift for the congregation. Anything else you want to share with us before we let you go?
I think that is the way of Christ, right? To be able to go deep into our humanity and then realize the divinity that is there, the divine nature that is revealed in and through it. And it's a gift to be able to have a place to share it and for others to listen and to have my guides and then to be a guide for others. Yeah, what a gift it is to be a vessel of the Spirit. So thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God, indeed. Well, listen, thanks for your willingness to share some of your life with us. And of course, as I've told you many times before, we love you. We're praying for you. You know all of that. I told someone the other day said to me, "So how do you get away with telling the congregation you're so madly in love with Lisa Bernheim?" I said, it's just the way it is. And so grateful for your willingness to be on this journey with us. And obviously, whatever we can do along the way, we'll try to do it. So I'll let you go. I know that you've got another fun round of chemo starting tomorrow. So we will be praying for you tomorrow, and blessings on you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.